Hello and welcome to Chapter 140 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me is my friend Joe. Joe, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing pretty darn good. Pretty. Well, I was gonna try to think of a pun for Black Adam, but nothing. Shockingly, nothing came to my head real quick. So, it was
Make
good.
sure you say it before you do the killing.
Yeah, I got catchphrase before the kill.
Which still wasn't figured out even at the very end there.
He did figure it out by the end of the movie. We'll give him that much.
Yeah, kind of, I
Sort of.
agree.
Yeah.
Sort of. But we are here. We have a DCEU movie, Joe. The
Yes,
first one
yes.
since The Suicide Squad back over a year ago now.
Yeah. Just what, about 14 months now? Maybe 13. Yeah, because it was August.
August, yes.
And I only know that because I looked at my DCEU rankings because I have them in a notepad, and it was last updated August of last year. So
Yeah, I was incredibly frustrated. I was trying to add Peacemaker to mine, but I think I might have just films for the DCU, so I'm going to have to switch it up. It's been so long since I've added one.
it's fine. You'll figure it out eventually.
You'll see our rankings at the very end of this, folks. But yeah, we are here.
How are you doing today?
I am.
I mean, you had a pretty hectic day and a half.
Yeah, I had 20 hours of hell is what I'll call it.
Yeah.
3 midterms. And 2 of them I thought went well. The hardest one was this morning because I had a little time to study for it. But I managed to do half decent on that. I already got my mark back on that. So thumbs up. I was in a positive mood going into Black Adam. I was kind of still a little bit like I'm starting to come down a little bit now. But I'm excited to talk with this, Joe. There's some things I never thought I'd ever see on the big screen that really excited me. And there's some not so good things about this film as well. I don't know where I sit with this. We'll get into that. We'll give our spoiler-free thoughts in a little bit. But
I think the major thing is we need another viewing because what I always like to do when I review movies is I see them twice. The first time, get the excitement out of the way. Second time to
look for stuff.
Yeah, to actually analyze everything. Sadly, obviously, both of us were unable to get a second viewing in before we could do this review. I think I'll probably go see it sometime this weekend again.
Same. I think I'm going to go and see it on Sunday is the plan for me for a second viewing. But there are a lot of cool things that that was in this film that I did pick up on. We're going to do it sort of breaking down characters because of what Joe said. If we watched this a second time, we would have broke this down like scene by scene.
We would have been able to. It would have been in our head a little bit better.
Yeah, so we're going to do characters because that way, like some of the scenes you might forget will come back up to. And I'm just excited to talk with this, Joe. Obviously, we have to do the network plugs before we get into this. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance with 8 shows in total. On Mondays is Ranger Alliance, and that rotates bi-weekly with Slice of Film. On Tuesdays is DC Alliance. On Wednesdays is Superhero Discussions. On Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance. On Fridays is Marvel Alliance. On Saturdays, bi-weekly as they walk through the multiverse. On Sundays, monthly is World's Finest True Believers. DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Star Wars Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Marvel Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel Thursdays at 9-10 p.m. Eastern Time. All 3 of those shows also have their own podcast feeds. Search Marvel Alliance, DC Alliance, or Star Wars Alliance if you just want Marvel content, DC content, or Star Wars content. But if you want all 8 shows on GUA, stay subscribed to the GUA on your podcast app of choice. We also have a Patreon, 2 tiers, a $1 tier and a $5 tier. $1 tier is basically a tip jar. You like what we're doing, you want to help us out any way you can. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras. You get your ad-free episodes, early access to episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. Joe, we have 10 days left for your Halloween madness.
Yes. My 30 plus days of Halloween.
What is on deck for the rest of this weekend?
So today I put out The Haunted Place. It is a 1963 movie covering it by Vincent Price, covering Edgar Allan Poe's poem. I guess it's really more of a poem. The Haunted Palace. Did I say Haunted Place? Haunted Palace.
I think you teased this on Monday, maybe.
I said something about it on the last episode. Tomorrow I'm gonna be Willy's Wonderland is gonna be coming out. I went and I watched that one. Fun guilty pleasure. And then I'll go ahead and say I've got the the final now Paranormal Activity, because they got another one coming out. But this one was exclusive to Paramount Plus.
Okay.
And I think it's actually on DVD too, but whatever. And then Trick or Treat from
cool.
from the late one. And then yeah, I'll say this. I love horror movies. I love Halloween movies. This was a blast watching something for this. And I've added to it. I've watched a lot more than just what I recorded. So,
I'm impressed you've gotten every one a day though. That is to keep that up. That is perhaps you can find Joe stuff. We also have myself and Joe going through the DC films through the years. We're going to get on Swamp Thing probably next week. Things are starting to calm down a little bit for me. I'm not sure with Joe, but we can probably hammer this out before DCA or something.
With my daughter just getting a job. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. And we have Marvel Alliance's MCU. We can watch this all day, rewatch. We have Clay's for the first time, where he watches shows for the first time. Right now, he's on Game of Thrones. And we have Katie going through Star Wars comics with her husband. We thank everyone that's a patron. But if you can take a quick 30 to 60 seconds to rate and review the podcast on your podcast app of choice, that'd be greatly appreciated. It helps us be found in the algorithm for other people, and that's always a great thing. Thumbs up for that. I think that's everything. Joe, we got a film.
We do.
We got a DCU film.
We do. Do we? Let's. Just gonna show. I am a little jealous of that, because I got, like I said, I got just a bucket with a handle on it, and it's just Black Adam. Like it shows the Rock on there. Yeah.
On the game.
Yeah, I was gonna show this one. Yep.
Yeah. The fact that they held the review embargo late, just 3 days before the official release, is very telling.
See, I don't know about that, because
I don't care as much. Like the audience score kind of reflected more so. Like I enjoyed this film. Let's get into that, Joe.
Yeah,
let's give our spoiler-free
review.
thoughts. And you go first.
So I'm right there with you. I enjoyed this. It had. I'm not gonna say it had a lot of heart, because there was stuff in there that they didn't need, but it was a fun film. Like it's very action heavy, which is what was promoted when The Rock was promoting the movie, that it was going to be a ton of action. You're right, it was a ton of action, but there's I think the problem that they had was finding the balance between the action and the lulls between action. Like more often than not, you want to have good dialogue, good compelling story from action beat to action beat. This didn't have a lot of that. It had a lot of backstory, and we got all the exposition, like a giant exposition drop at the very beginning, which is fine. You kind of sometimes need that. But at the same time, I had flashbacks to The Mummy 2, The Scorpion King, because what did that have? Like, I mean, that was another Rock movie where it was a giant flashback to see how the Scorpion King got to where he is now. This was a giant flashback to see how Black Adam got to where he is now. It's not a good comparison. Like they are tonally different, sort of. Because I definitely saw a lot of reviews today talk about how this movie was basically
a little bit all over the place.
Well, not only just all over the place, but also it had a tone of like mid 2000s. And I'm like, while I think, yeah, there was some of that, I can't fully agree. But the big thing is that every single reviewer that I watched compared it to Marvel. It's like, you can't do that. No, Marvel and DC, yes. This is very Marvel movie-esque in the formula that they threw out there, but it's not a Marvel movie. You can't compare it to Marvel, which I know that's also a bad thing, because why did the Snyderverse end? Because the Warner Brothers saw what Marvel did and was like, we need to make that happen. Needless to say, I did enjoy this movie. When we get to the rankings, it's not going to be high up there, but it's still an enjoyable movie. I think, like, I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and I would recommend it to people who have an interest in it. But I'm not going to be like pushing, because like she has no interest in seeing it. So I'm not going to be like, oh no, you need to see it because of this and this. No, like, if you have an interest in seeing this, if you like comic book movies, this is a comic book movie. It straight up is a comic book movie. Go watch it. At least give it one a view in theaters. If not, I mean, yes, you can wait till video on demand. You can wait till it comes out on streaming. But ultimately, I think you're going to miss out. Seeing it on the big screen was a fun experience. Having the crowd in there, because I sat next to a guy who was, I mean, he wasn't like uber excited, but he was happy to be sitting there watching this movie. Like we were talking before the film started, and like we were just happy that this was finally coming about because it's been in the works for 15 years, So this, if you like comic book movies, I would recommend it, but don't go into it expecting Marvel, or don't go into it expecting really. Well, I can't say that because there was a lot of comparison to Wonder Woman. So we'll go that. What were your thoughts?
First, I want to say on the game says audience score feels like the fans are trying hard to counter the critic score.
A little bit.
And then The Rock has too many badly reviewed movies in his filmography. It'd be nice to see him work with some great directors and great scripts and challenge himself.
What are you talking about? Doom was an amazing movie.
Yeah, Doom. I gotta say, first off, for critic scores, I don't really put as much stock to it. Like Man of Steel is in the 50s, like so. I just that alone gives me my indications on how sometimes
it's also,
that works.
Also, like they don't. I remember back in the day that reviewers, not reviewers now, because obviously reviewers now are nerds like us, but reviewers back in like the 90s and early 2000s just shat on comic book movies, superhero movies left and right. They were just like, no, these movies are terrible. I don't know why they're getting made. And then the fans would come in and watch it, like, holy crap, this is amazing. So I don't take reviewers like critic scores ever anymore.
I'm Joe, to be honest with you. I think I'm just about in your camp with this. Like, I enjoyed this film. Like, did I have a good time watching this film? Yes. Is this film a little clunky and a little messy at times? Yes. Both things can be true. I had a fun time. Do I go to when I watch Predator, when I watch some of the Arnold movies, do I watch them for the story or the cool ass action scenes? Which is what the first thing I heard with this was like Dragon Ball Z meets Man of Steel, and I will say that for the most part they absolutely nailed the action here. Props to the CGI people working on this, because there was a ton of CGI in this, and it kind of blended for the most part. We won't talk about Rock as a slave because
we'll get there. We will
get there because that was a little rough for me. We'll get into why in a little bit, but I loved all the characters. The JSA was outstanding. There's a certain character that I've always wanted to see in live action. I never thought I would see, and there wasn't a bad scene with that character in the whole film. I think he was the standout for me. There's several great characters in this film, and I want to spend more time with him. I think that's a great thing that I can say coming out of this film. And obviously, we'll get into it at the end there, but the end of the film, the thing nobody knew was coming. That was pretty surprising. My theater popped like it was No Way Home. My theater popped
really
crazily. Yeah, it was like clapping and hollering. I was a little shocked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would.
You must live in a community that is like totally under a rock. Like, I mean, get it? Okay.
That's actually the nickname for the province.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So we're obviously going to get into spoilers.
Yes, because I don't think. I mean, there's really no other thoughts that we could give. Spoiler-free thoughts. It's an action movie. It's a comic book movie. Honestly, another thing, like going into it, I expected it to be like here, and it met my expectations. Like it didn't.
Sometimes it was up, and sometimes it was down for me. There were points where I really enjoyed this film, and there were other points like I'm going to hold it. We're going okay. If you haven't seen the film, this is where you stop the recording, run away, go watch the film, come back, and listen to us now, because we are like, this is the spoiler-free part is over.
Spoiler-free is done. We're gonna start talking spoilers starting now.
We are into this, and let's go right away. Let's talk about the man himself, the big character of this Black Adam. What do you think about the Rock's performance here and his character overall, Joe, in this film?
So he has been pushing this movie, pushing this character heavily, especially the last, couple months. I enjoyed his take on it. There were times where I know a lot of people were saying that he felt robotic, but first off, the man's been in tune for almost 5,000 years.
Yeah.
He's been he hasn't done anything. Even when he was, yes, he showed emotion when he was a slave and when we saw his family. But you can really say that, well, once his family was killed in front of him, emotion gone. And you saw that
one emotion left, rage.
Well, yes. And so he comes back, he gets summoned back. First thing he does is starts killing all of Intergang. So I'm not saying he's robotic, but it's just a lot of his delivery was just deadpan. Fine. You don't need to have The Rock trying to do these comedic roles, although he was trying to do some one-liners that were hit or miss at times.
Hit or miss is the best way to put that, I think.
Well, now the one that got me, the one that I really liked, was when he tossed the guy. He tossed the guy,
and then Dr. Fate calls in.
No.
Oh.
He tosses the guy, and then he is the guy's about to run into the truck. He's like, "Oh, and tell him that the man." Oh well.
Yeah. That was a funny moment.
That one got me. I really enjoyed that one.
The Dr. Fate one worked for me as well. I thought that one, that was the funny one, but
because he's just looks back.
He's like, bring him back to me. I can break his mind. And he's like, and then you see him in the background falling like that. That worked for me. I laughed. My theater really laughed at that. Joe, and I want to jump in because I really thought The Rock was solid here. Like you said, I don't think it's really hard for especially general audience people to look at that character and not see The Rock.
Well, because it's his face. He's just there. He's
top 3 most famous people in the world, Joe. Not just the country, the world.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, for how long was he The Rock in wrestling? He was that for multitude of years. He puts on, especially when he was promoting this, he puts on a great promotion because that's all he's known for his whole entire life. Okay, now look, hold on. Now
we have to get into this because on the game. I've seen that you are not the movie's not getting made like that. It's not in this time. It's first and foremost a movie that geared towards the American audience. That's the first thing when this is being made. $195 million. We're getting towards there. Blue Beetle. There's rumors that 30 to 40% of Blue Beetle is
basically anytime with his family. Yeah.
But so we're getting there, hopefully. But as you heard with how hard it took The Rock to get this made, try throwing that into a pitch meeting that he's going to speak. He's not going to speak American, and it's going to be American subtitles for the entire.
Don't get me wrong. I'd be okay with that.
Same.
I watch everything in subtitles anyway.
That's why I said pitch. That's why I said pitch me, not for me or you. We love it, but if you try to present that,
people the general audience would hate it.
And I remember
going to see. I think it was the Ben Affleck movie where he was the basketball coach. That was in 2020, beginning of 2020 when it came out. I can't remember what it was called.
Just before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic, because it was part of my movies that I was trying to watch a movie a week in 2020. Yeah. And then that really
lasted a long time.
That went to shit in March. But in that movie, we go to sit down, and it was it had subtitles on it the entire time. I'm like, I'm fine with this. My dad's like, well, that's kind of boring.
Yeah, I don't mind. I put closed captioning on when I watch the
every single time.
I will agree with this. He could have spent a little bit more time to actually look like with the ears and you could have done.
I think if he had done the ears, I would have been more appreciative. He didn't need to have the hairpiece.
No, you didn't have to have the hair.
Which you sort of see
at the very end, kind of. It seemed like it.
Really more when. Okay, so spoiler alert. Again, we're in the spoiler section. The champion that was chosen was actually Black Adam's son.
Yes, and I will give them a little bit of props for that because I didn't even expect that to come I thought,
I
honestly,
didn't.
the way they showed it, I thought the sun had turned into this rage monster.
But that's the thing. Like, but that's what I'm getting at is they show him in silhouette, it looks like he's got the hair. It looks like he's the comic version of
Yeah,
Black Adam.
yeah.
And then you actually see him. It's
Do
like,
you
nope,
know who
it's
he's?
just
Do you know
whatever.
who he's played by when
Uh,
he has the power of the magician or power of Shazam and before he gives it to his father?
no.
The guy who plays Young Rock on the
Okay.
TV show. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I still haven't watched that.
it's pretty.
Although they did
I
have a
haven't either,
trailer.
Joe. I've seen a couple clips, but I
I'll say
haven't. But
they had a trailer, a preview for it before this movie. Weird, I know, but
oh my god, look, I have to just want to make a one stand. I went into this film and it was supposed to start at 1 o'clock, and it didn't start until 21 minutes after one.
dude, that's
It was a
normal.
bit extreme. There's way too many commercials. We only got a couple. Although the Black Panther trailer really pops in IMAX, I will say, really pops. I have to. But like I said, I really enjoyed the performance. Like you said, the robotic part that comes and goes.
Like,
But I
it
thought,
happens, but like it was one of those things where it didn't take it out for me.
no,
So sorry,
same.
but continue.
I No, but I'm same way. It didn't take it out. I enjoyed it. I started to root for the character at times. There were times that I understood it, and I loved the line they told a little bit of hero and villains. I hope that after this encounter, like this whole movie, we next time we see some of these characters like a Hawkman, they might have a little bit of a different perspective after what has happened
Well, we
in the
definitely
entirety
got
of this film.
that toward the end of the movie. They had a
And
little
I
bit more
think it opens
respect.
that up for him
Yeah,
coming back. He could be a member if we ever have some sort of showdown going on, because he has been part of that group before
he has.
in the comics. So I think that potentially could be because I think he has a bit of appreciation for Dr. Fate too. We will get into all that.
Yep.
But overall, I think his character really worked for me, Joe. I like action be damned, and all the flying, props to them. Like he didn't do much walking at all. He hovered. The only time I saw him walking really was when he surrendered to Hawkman.
Yeah.
Which, like, props to that because that can't be easy. It can't be cheap to have him hovering the entire time.
Well,
But
no, it's really easy. You just don't show his feet.
I just thought it was great. I just loved the fact that he was hovering at
No,
the majority of the time. Like, when he would just hover up the things, and
Mhm.
it was, I don't know, just something that you didn't see.
Well,
What do
no,
you think about his action
it
too? The
showed
action.
it him hovering shows that he because he was a slave his whole entire life, and then he got this power, which I'm pretty sure he did actually walk into the palace when he killed the king.
Yeah,
I could be wrong on that one, but it just shows that when he got the power, he's like, this power means something, and we find out it's because his son gave it to him,
yeah.
and he's using it for revenge. He's using it not the way it should be used, because obviously the way he used it caused the wizards to
That
banish
was
him.
we got to listeners. There was such a cool scene where the Black Adam, I was calling the Rock. Black Adam is explaining to Hawkman what actually happened, his actual backstory,
Yeah.
and we get a really cool one of the DCU tie-ins that I had listed in the show notes, which is the Wizard from Shazam. He's
Yes.
in this, and we actually see what happened to the other members of the Wizard Council. But you see all those open chairs in Shazam,
Yep.
and you see it. You actually see it, like, and it looks fantastic of him fighting all those
Yeah.
different wizards, and obviously the main wizard, the Shazam wizard, is the one that imprisons him in that tomb. And I just thought that was just the way they did that was great. And it's just a little tie-in. That was the only tie-in to Shazam that I noticed, which I am a little disappointed. We did talk about, like, when Amanda Waller is talking to Hawkman, I wanted her to bring up, like, that he had those powers or something. There wasn't any
Well, but
mention of
here's
Shazam
the
that I
other
didn't
thing. We
get.
don't exactly know when this sits in the timeline, because it's not like it's not after the Suicide Squad. And the only reason I say that is because Harcourt is here. Not that she wouldn't still be working for Waller after Peacemaker, but with Waller's daughter outing her in Peacemaker, Waller is kind of, in my opinion, still on the ropes, which will get some explanation, I believe, in the Waller TV show if and when that comes out. So my assumption is this actually takes place after Shazam or shortly after Shazam, if not, before Birds of Prey, and maybe Waller doesn't know about Shazam, which would be hard to do because it's Amanda Waller. She knows everything,
And he
especially when
was
it comes
pretty
to superheroes.
wide open and out there, like catching a bus and
Yeah, well, he was on TV, like he was
yeah.
making all the stuff,
So
so she
Waller
would
knows. Yeah,
know, but maybe she doesn't know the extent of his powers. Like she knows what he is and where he's coming from, but doesn't know. Whereas for Waller, they had tomes
yeah,
of Black Adam, of Teth Adam, and
yeah.
the stories from Kandak.
They had old
So
texts
yeah,
to
so maybe my thought process is she doesn't know the extent of Shazam and doesn't realize they are connected.
yeah. So Joe, let's take our first ad break of the evening. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Joe. Let's keep going into this. I just want to touch a little bit more on Black Adam's power set, which I thought was displayed really great here with the lightning, and
It
some of the
looked
fight
cool.
scenes were fantastic. Where he's like fighting Intergang.
The scene,
I
okay, the scene where he first shows up.
Yeah,
What do you think of that one? Because that
I enjoyed that a lot. I gotta say, I thought it was a little extra destructive, but you could see it with the character. I don't know. There wasn't anything that looked out of place for me. I think you're going to tell me something that looked out of place for
no,
you.
it looked great. Like
Okay.
I loved it when he was flying out and you had the second level of Intergang like shooting at him, trying to take him out, and all you see is just burning bodies falling. I'm just like, okay. I was going to try and count the deaths because
It's
I
going to be
I
a
do
hard
that
thing to
on
do.
shows now. Like, I'm gonna need to like pause and be able to count stuff because
One
he
thing
kills
that
so many people.
one thing that I liked the scene, but not the score or the style. Even the style could have worked, but the score was when he goes out of the cave and fights all the inner gang that's there, and they play it. They kind of make it like a Deadpool slash Quicksilver from the Days of Future Past style to
So
me,
I've been hearing a
and
lot of people talk about that.
yeah.
Yes, he's got speed. He showed
I
that.
love the power set and display of it, Joe. I just thought the music was a little it didn't work as much for me.
I think that's when they played. Was that Painted Black? I think is when they played that.
Yeah.
That's when they. Yeah, there was a lot of music choices that
Twice they did that and I didn't enjoy it, the
I didn't
music.
like. Yeah, because then they used Kanye at one
Yeah.
point, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't like Kanye
Yeah.
anyway." So it was one of those scenes where I love that scene. I actually really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. That music, I didn't like the music choice for that one.
There's a couple times where that is very evident to me. One in
Yeah.
particular we'll get to later. Uh
But yeah, no, like that excess is probably correct because while he is doing very Quicksilver things, and I know
but it was a
I had mentioned
complete
earlier that
shift
we
in
can't
tone.
compare it, but
Like we talked about well, like you said some of the reviewers said, and like what I felt a couple times was you just spent about 5 minutes making this guy seem like to be a total badass that was electrocuting people.
exactly.
Yeah, like electrocuting people and turning them into skulls, and that looks so like, oh my god, like he's
Like
not screwing around. Then
that
you go into making
the
it
first guy
kind of
was
comedic.
cool. Well, but so you thought that was all well,
No,
okay,
not
yeah.
all comedic, but I thought
No,
it was
because
a
yeah,
little.
when the guy throws the grenade, he
He
grabs it and like
stuffs it in his
throws it in
mouth.
his
I
mouth.
thought that they went
Okay.
like they were shifting around in tone a little bit, Joe. That, like I said, while I enjoyed, there's only one film on my DCEU that I don't know if I'll watch again. Justice League theatrical cut is not on my rankings, but there's only one that I don't know. I probably will visit it at some point, but I will. I enjoy this film, but there are some weird things like that where you go from like shift in tone where he's coming out of the tomb, and then you go into the comedy of stuffing, sending a rocket against this guy, going like trying to kill you, and sending a rocket just a little bit more
Just
redirecting it,
like
the
it's just
exploding.
tapping it away. Yeah.
Yeah, like I like the
Okay.
cool display of his powers and his speed and stuff. I just didn't like how they made it more comedic. I didn't think that needed to be there. So,
Interesting.
like, they
See,
stumbled a little bit at the gate trying to figure out what they wanted him to be. They felt like he wanted him to be like a couple different versions of Black Adam. You wanted you wanted the character to be stoic and serious because he just came out of 5,000 years and he has a lot of like stuff on his plate from his backstory. You know, it's his father's son is dead. Or well, he's directly related in the cause of death there. So
that was the other thing that really bugged me. So before I step to the side here, that I actually like that I like the scene. I didn't see any comedic thing in it initially, but again, I'm watching it to enjoy that film. I'm not analyzing it just yet as much as I can. The thing that really bugged me though was the opening scene where they're telling the history, and it's the what's his name? The son or the brother. No, his son.
Eamon?
Yeah, Eamon is really narrating the legend of Black Adam. And it's like, oh yeah, so he was a slave and he was a kid slave and he rose up and gathered all the people around him. And then we see the kid being about ready to be killed, and he gets zapped by the wizards, and he becomes the champion. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, but the trailer said that Black Adam lost his son. So I know this is not him.
I didn't even clue that in. Like I said, I thought
that's one of the bad things about trailers. Sometimes they
I
do
forget
give
about
out
them
too much
sometimes.
information.
I think I knocked some of that. I think I pushed some of that knowledge out, Joe, the past week, like trying to cram all the studying in that I did. I think I just forgot some information.
That's fair.
So
I did not.
I was coming into this like a bit of a haze, and like I said, it was out a little bit over the place. Like I felt like they wanted to have the action serious right, but they also wanted to have the comedic stuff that you get from the other stuff, like Hobbs and Shaw, for example. No, I just mean like the comedic one-liners.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I didn't think about that.
Like he did the head turn, like even that's classic, right? When he got smacked with the guys, even though I enjoyed the outcome where he sends him just completely flying, but we'll obviously come back to Black Adam at a couple points.
Yeah, let's move on to the next.
Let's move on to the family. Essentially, the other players here. We had Adriana Tomaz, Eamon Tomaz, and Karim Tomaz.
So it's Adriana and the men are mother and son, and the Karim other is the brother of Adriana, uncle of Amon. I liked Karim. I really enjoyed him.
Yeah,
I liked his character. The part where he gets shot.
Yeah,
this is like third act. He gets shot, or maybe second act, whatever. And Dr. Fate's like, "Oh, don't worry, you're not gonna die here." And it's like, really? Well, how am I gonna die? Just stay away from electricity. But I'm an electrician.
And Joe, what I love even more about that, the other joke that worked for me is when he shows up. We will talk about the thing that didn't work for me in this, but the joke worked, but the whole situation just came out of nowhere. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But when the army of the damned is there and he drives through them all in the truck and he gets out and he said, "Don't worry, I die by electricity." And he starts,
I got this. Yeah.
I laughed hard at that. I thought that was really funny. I'm like, maybe Dr. Fate's like, if you live your normal life, you'll die by electricity. If you're out going fighting, you're changing your fate here.
I mean, it's one of those things. But no, he was essentially the comedic relief at a lot of major points. He was just there. He didn't really do a ton. I think at one point he when Black Adam is making his own doorway in the apartment, like he's sitting on the couch and Black Adam's walking and pushing the couch, and Karim is just looking at him like, "Yeah, cool, dude. Okay, thanks, I guess."
You know what I felt for him? He did not. There was no part of him that wanted to make that trek into that tomb. Like no part of him. And you thought he was getting out of it. I actually thought like he's getting out of it. Like look at him.
Yeah.
And then Intergang comes and marches him all the way into the tomb. Like come on.
If I was him, he has to rush out.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Can you just leave me here with him? Like keep a couple guys here. Like, you probably would really like it'd be a good idea considering what's going to happen to you guys in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but they don't know that. No, they have no idea what's going on.
I felt for him. Like, dude does not want to hike. He has bad knees. Like, give him a break.
I'm gonna keep a lookout. But no, as for Adriana and Amon, both great She's a great
No,
character.
she's a
She's
great
a great character.
character. I don't think he needed to be there at all. And the thing about
I
trying to
would
make
say
him
so.
into like just make him into Black Adam's son, like that used to work in the 90s and the
Which
2000s.
is
I felt
why
like that
people
was
are saying this is a like reminiscent of 2000 movie. My issue with him, and the whole time it's supposed to be parallels. Like these two characters are parallels to his wife
yeah.
and son. Obviously, that's what's supposed to happen. By the end of the movie, he is going around. He's trying to rally the citizens of Kahndaq to rise up against the army of the damned. And I'm sorry, I'm not. He's so soft spoken. There's no passion in his like. Come on, guys, we need to go save
She was the
ourselves.
one that could do that. But I also want to say
I'm
you
not following a
didn't
12-year-old. Like screw
that
that
didn't
kid.
need to be in there at all. Like that
No,
was
I
completely
wouldn't say
that
at all
Army of the
because
Dead. None of that needed to be
oh
there, in my
no, see,
opinion.
I like that.
I didn't
I
like that. Oh, you brought this big scary army of dead. How hard is it to defeat them? Oh, just give me this random piece of anything, and I can just bash them upside the head.
they're
And
bones. Actually, they were guys in suits, but they
they're
were
flames.
bones.
I thought some of them were flames and everything. It
No,
was. I just thought it was really easy
you
for them to
tried
take them
burning
down.
bones. Those,
Uh,
at high
you could have
temperature,
just
they
had
turn to
them
dust.
watching the conflict of them, and I thought that would have been good. You could have had the citizens of Kandar watching the two like superpowers
See, but
fight it
here's the
out
thing,
over
though,
what's going to happen.
because Sabak went to hell.
Oh, I
Well,
know
what's
that
his
he
name?
can command the forces. I just
Well,
thought that that
he's
was
bringing hell to Earth. You're not gonna like. You're bringing an army of the damned. They're just gonna stand there and eat popcorn.
yeah, but
They're gonna roast those like human flesh to
you
get
I needed to
some
know
food.
that was a
Like
possibility. Joe, I needed to know that was a possibility a little bit earlier on in the movie. Like you can't break that out in the third act as a random one-liner when when Ishmael goes to hell at the one girl or one random girl or lady demon or whatever we're calling her just says it. You unleash hell on earth. And then they keep going on. They don't even mention it anymore. That we didn't know that was the army of the dead. I just thought it was like came out of nowhere.
okay, that's
I wish there was a little bit. Even reading ancient text saying something about if like he will unleash hell on earth. Just give me something to let me know that that could potentially come.
what. That's okay. That's fair. I see
Yeah.
where you're coming from on that one.
It's just it took too long to develop. I didn't know that was even a possibility, and then out of nowhere, it just felt like that was the necessary device to keep these human characters doing something in the last little part of the film. That's all.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas I thought it would be more beneficial and kind of would weight more if you had them looking up and watching this big giant battle of these two beings here for your city. One you want to win, one you don't. That just could have played better. I know they like
Well,
it's an action film too, so you can't
yes,
really
but also it shows because Adriana and Amon are supporting Black Adam. And they already saw this. Like the townspeople already saw townspeople. The people of Kahndaq, already saw that Black Adam was saving them. Like
yeah.
he initially comes out and just starts killing Intergang. Now Amon purposely drew him to do that, which
Yeah.
kind of he lit the match is all. But like they're seeing Black Adam, Teth Adam, grab these Intergang people, killing them, shocking them with lightning, and then the Justice Society swoops in. It's like, you need to stop this. Yeah, of course they're gonna go. They're gonna follow the guy who is liberating them.
Yeah, it
Like,
seemed pretty silly too, especially I loved her discussions with Hawkman. Saying like we've been under control for 27 years and where have you been? You haven't showed up anywhere. Like no one's come. He finally starts to kick some butt and you're like, no, this is not happening. Give me a break. I thought all that worked so well.
it
She's
worked
like,
great because
tell
it's
all of
real.
them that he's not a hero. And they're all chanting him in the
Yeah,
streets. I thought,
champion, yeah.
yeah, like it was great. Especially Joe, you got that lore for the like this is part of their history.
Mm-hmm.
Their
There's a giant statue of the champion in the middle of town.
Yeah, and you can also tell one thing that I did appreciate from Black Adam is anytime he sees that statue or looks at it throughout the film, he's really not the same kind of like kick-ass badass that he is any other. Like you can tell that there was a lot of weight whenever he looks at that
Yep.
because he's the only one that truly knows who that actually is
Yep.
until the end with Hawkman.
Well, they tell
But
him, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if we needed Amon really. I thought that it was kind of a just some extra time. Like his skateboarding a couple times went on way too long for me. I'm like,
He was
you show
skateboarding.
me
Yeah, all the time.
you Goonies kid that like got these secret pathways and that. I just thought that it was a bit much at times. To
For a house, he's gonna sneak out for
yeah,
the in the gang
just
controlled, whatever. I wouldn't say we don't need him. We probably didn't need him as much.
yeah.
That'd be my argument.
That was. I probably agree with that. Like it, like you said, when he was rallying the groups, I was
I
just
just
thinking,
oh cool. Hey, you guys, just we gotta follow him. Follow dude, what the hell are you doing, kid?
be like, can you shut up? Look at all this rubble that's filling my car.
Yeah. My wife is under that. You want to help me out here? Come on.
But no, like I said, they were good at times. Some of the comedic relief, like you said, the uncle was probably the better one for me.
The uncle was
In
great.
he was utilized really well, but she
Yeah.
was also really great and
She
a total badass, especially the
what
first part of the film.
oh god, yeah. No, and
Yeah,
she
and
ultimately is the like I said earlier, they are the parallels of his family, and she is. I don't want to say the go between, but she's going to be his anchor, if nothing else. Like that character, if we get a second movie or continuation somewhere, we're going to see their. We'll definitely see their relationship develop. We'll see her character grow significantly. And I'm really looking forward to that. Like, I really enjoyed her character in this, and the portrayal that Sarah
I
Shaha
hand to
did.
God,
Shahi?
hand to God, Joe. Honestly, could have swore she was going to be putting on the helmet at some point by the end of this film. Like I was getting that vibe. Like I knew our boy wasn't going to like just
Yeah.
because
So
Brosnan's not going to be. Well,
let's get into that.
yeah.
Let's get into the
Well,
JSA.
let's get into the JSA. Let's start off with the leader of the JSA before we get into my guy, and then we'll take a little break.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Hawkman, Joe. What do you think about Aldous Hodge and his performance as Carter Hall / Hawkman?
I thought he did great. I thought he was an amazing Hawkman. I loved it. I loved it start to finish. My only gripe, I guess, is him. First thing he says to Black Adam is surrender or die. Why? Like, why are you threatening him, dude?
Uh, that was super frustrating for me. That was the only part because every other thing about Hawkman was not killing people, and his opening line is "surrender or die." You're
Yeah,
not
like,
really being the hero that you're talking about when you're saying like, "Yeah, your only other option is death."
yeah, heroes don't kill except for Superman and
Or
Batman
or me
and
when
Wonder
I
Woman
say
and
that if
me
you or me when you
and
don't surrender.
and Doctor Fate probably and all those other heroes. Oh, and Flash and probably and Aquaman and
I
Cyborg and
do like how Black Adam actually says like you would let these guys go knowing that they would commit more crimes,
yeah.
and that's the always the Batman question.
Well,
So
Batman's got some other issues going on, but no,
yeah,
like seriously, the whole surrender. I can understand him trying to say heroes don't kill people. The bad side of this is that we're in a universe where in Batman vs Superman, Batman's killing people left and right. Like you can't do anything about that.
it's okay
Yeah,
about it. He
exactly.
feels
Thank you, all
bad.
the
He
game.
feels bad about it now. It's okay. He's good now.
But
Let's pretend he's good now, Joe. He's faith. He has faith now, Joe.
sure. But that's the thing. Like this universe. Because okay, let's go back to because I beat it to it. Yep, sorry, all the game. But this universe, if we're gonna compare it, like let's compare it to the MCU. Iron Man was killing people left and right in the first movie,
Oh yeah,
and a few in the second movie, and I think even some in the third movie. Thor killed people, but he's also a god. Obviously, Captain America was killing people. Like
it
they
was
didn't
war,
stop.
goddamn.
Exactly, they didn't really stop the whole not killing people thing until about phase 2, and then definitely in phase 3, where the people they're killing are the alien invaders. They're not
Yeah,
killing people. DC is not Marvel.
no,
They've never been Marvel. Well, I don't say never been Marvel, but they've definitely not shied
I'm a
away
big fan of
from.
truth and also justice. Yeah, they tried to be like Marvel at one point.
Yeah, they've never shied away from killing people. Like let's be honest, especially this new iteration of DCEU. So Hawkman to say, "Hey, heroes don't kill." Like, come on, dude. You can't really like. You got a giant mace with all these spikes that spins. You think that's just going to like puncture somebody's arm and not do anything else? No, that's pulverizing some normal person's arm off their body, which in turn will bleed out and they will die. Like, come on.
I'm going to jump in here and sing some praises for Hawkman.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, but he was amazing. His wings were like I loved his
His
wings.
whole costume
His costume was amazing.
fantastic. When he's fighting the big villain Sabak at the end, and he switches his
Dude,
mace to the
yeah.
oh my god, to the axe, and the nth metal with his ship. His ship is fantastic. All the scenes with his ship, especially the detaching and going underwater, that
really
was
cool.
all cool. Where the other part of the ship just floats there. That's the kind of stuff that I love. Like, we don't talk about that stuff enough in DCU.
No, he's just tickling people with that mace. I mean, you're right. Tickler right up the gonads. Okay.
But like I said, I really enjoyed him. I thought he was great. That little bit at the start, I thought was a little bit mixing up his like motivations when you had him say die and then he's all against killing after that. But
Let me ask you this. What did you think about him working hand in hand with Amanda Waller and Task Force X?
I'm a little confused about that, especially when we talk about the very end of the movie. Like, how's she getting all these people to work for her? Like, I need to see. Maybe we'll see some of that in her own show. Maybe.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I know from comics at one point, yes, Waller is the head of Suicide Squad. She's the head of a secret government agency. And yes, it has been established in this universe, like she's met face to face with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, they've had conversations,
God
they've
damn,
shared files.
that was a nice. Oh, that was a nice scene.
Yeah, it was a great scene. So she has her fingers in plenty of, let's just say, government pie.
Yeah.
But I do know from the comics one story in particular where she, like the heroes and the villains, had to work together to stop this alien threat. It's the Bloodline annuals from '93, one of my favorite storylines of all time. And when they were putting a plan together, they got Waller to come in and basically head the plan. Like, all right, she is divvying up teams. She's putting people where they need to go. I thought her and Hawkman working together, that didn't bother me. Especially if say, I mentioned that this probably takes place before the Peacemaker show, before the Suicide Squad. It's very possible this could be afterwards. It's very possible this could be after her whole fallout with everything going on there, and now she is working hand in hand with the government, and the JSA is working with the government. So ipso facto, they're working together.
Why I always think about this, Joe, and why I think about it with the in credit thing too. She's doing that to. She knows if she presents like a potential threat to the JSA or the Justice League, they will act on it. You saw that in Peacemaker. You see that here in this film. They will act on it anyway, just because. And I think she knows that. She knows she can't control them like her own Task Force X.
No,
but she knows that if I tell these heroes that this is happening, they're going to go intervene regardless, because that's what they do.
It's not manipulation as much as like she's playing chess. She's moving the pieces that will benefit her where they need to go. So like having that character at the end pop in, yeah, she's not really controlling him, but it's like, hey, that guy right there is a big threat. Let's work on that.
Yeah. Derpy Gaming says, "How was it, fellas? I don't plan on seeing this film, and I'm a DC fan. I'm just done with Warner Brothers in general, making crap that doesn't have a story world around it. It's just that sad." I will say that this has story world around it. This has other greater DCEU implications. You're introducing 4 new characters, 4 new heroes to the DCEU.
Well, 3.
Well, 4 and
No,
1
4 because
anti-hero.
it comes.
Yeah,
Well, no, that's
he'll come back
sorry.
one day. Uh,
Yeah, Doctor Fate will come
yeah,
back. Yeah. No,
Derby Gaming. The story's a little messy, but there's so much great action in this, like that you'll enjoy. Now, maybe this might not be a film for you to go to theaters to see, but I'd be fairly confident you will be watching a lot of some or a lot of the scenes on YouTube or watching it at home release because there's a lot of good things in here. And I don't want us to make it seem like we don't like it. And you'll see it in our
yes.
like in our rankings and that like I'll watch this again. We're already talking about seeing it again in theaters. So it's just
Derby. It's definitely it's a recommend. Maybe not in theaters, but definitely a recommend to watch.
yeah, it's a little
VOD or
uneven
streaming,
at
whichever one.
times. It's just a little uneven at times in
A little.
most time I can say. So Joe, let's take our second ad break of the evening before we get into the rest of the JSA. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Joe, let's get into this. We have the other 3 remaining JSA members. I'm going to save the best for last, in my opinion. And let's talk about Albert Rothstein, Atom Smasher.
I mean, we can talk about these 2 together, honestly.
Noah Centineo and Maxine Hunkel, Cyclone, played by Quintessa Swindle. So Quintessa Swindle, sorry.
Quintessa Swindle, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that? What do you think of the 2 new additions? I've seen some, they're not around enough, or there's not enough of them. But that's going to happen with some of these characters. You can't have all of them and the Rock and Rock's character like all at one time.
Essentially, this movie is Black Adam's movie.
Yeah.
The Justice Society is here to be more antagonistic to him.
Yes.
And that's fine. It works.
Yep. And you introduce, that's a beauty thing now of having a greater extended universe. You introduce 4 new potential characters that can come up. And obviously,
put them in their own movies.
There's a fate of one of these, but still there's a heirloom, a thing that can come back again. So
that will come back again at some point.
There are some, there's something that I really enjoy about this, but I'm with you. The kids, they were great. I love the enthusiasm of Atom Smasher. I love the more reserved, but also enjoyableness of Cyclone. I thought that her powers were a little one note for me, but then we see her do the nanobot operation to keep that person alive, and Atom Smasher is completely amazed by that. So you show her not only her metahuman power, but also her skill set and her knowledge.
One thing on one of the reviews I watched for this, I want to say it was Geekverse from last night, the Geekverse guys. But honestly, I can't remember because I watched so many of the reviews. Everybody but Grace, because fuck Grace.
Yeah.
This nanotechnology got brought up here, and then poof, it's gone.
That's how she got her powers as well.
Yes, but it gets brought up, and we don't dive into it. Essentially, though, you don't need to. That is for its own.
There you go, Joe. That's what I was about to say. You can touch on that on another subject. That scientist that kidnapped her, that could be a potential villain for a potential movie down the line. And on the game, we're going to talk with that in a little while.
Yeah,
a little bit more. We're going to talk with this and what we think is going to happen going forward with this. So stick with us for that.
But ultimately, though, I love both these characters. Yes, they were not in the movie a lot, but they even say in the beginning they're the new blood. They're
trying to prove themselves.
Yeah. So the scenes where Atom Smasher keeps messing up with Hawkman.
You and me, we're gonna have a chat, and then the second time he smacks him after telling Black Adam watch out, I can't see. It was quite funny several times. I love his powers too, Joe. His getting him bigger. I thought the mask was a little Daredevil-y when he put it on, trying to kind of sound it like it. Deadpool, sorry.
Yeah, yes, and again, people are going to compare this to Marvel stuff, and only because the Marvel movies did this stuff first.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to have that comparison, but you can't compare it. You cannot compare it to the same thing. These characters were great. I loved Cyclone. I love the character from the comics. I started reading her when I started reading the not the latest, but the JSA from the 2000s issues. That's where she shows up. Great character, Atom Smasher. I mean, he has a bad fate in the comics, but it's still like I love both these characters. I can see if, for example, we get a standalone JSA movie, these two coming in, they are now, I'm not going to say veterans, but they are seasoned heroes that when a new crop can come in, look, they can teach them, all right, this is how we work together, this is how we work as a team. Like, I see potential from these two in the future.
Yeah, and we see it even with them interacting with, well, Atom Smasher interacting with Black Adam at the end there, saying we made a great team. I also got to say that I did enjoy the appearance by his uncle, Henry Winkler.
Oh, that was wonderful.
That
That got
was
chuckle out of me.
that was great for me. That was a yes moment. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, his enthusiasm was catchy. He wasn't throwing out all kinds of jokes. I saw a couple people say in tweets that he was quippy and stuff. No, I didn't think he was like a Spider-Man type. I thought he was just enthusiastic about everything. He really enjoyed things, and Cyclone even hit the head on it and saying like you can literally like change your atoms to get bigger, and still like everything is like, oh my god, this is awesome. This is so cool.
Yep.
I felt seen, to be honest with you, Joe.
Did you?
like, oh, what an awesome day! Yeah, like, oh my god, this is so cool. I felt a little seen about that. Not gonna lie, but those were great. But those were none of these three. I enjoyed all these three, but they don't hold a candle, in my opinion, to Dr. Fate, Pierce Brosnan, Kent Nelson. I love this, Joe. Pierce Brosnan is my band, and I come from a family. My uncles like had all the band films on tape, so I've seen all the bands growing up. So
nice. They're all now currently on Amazon Prime. So
yeah, those were VHSs. I'm pretty sure they recorded them on like a TBS one.
Oh, I love it.
TBS had like a band marathon. So I'm pretty sure they recorded there, but
I've only seen like half of Connery. I've seen all of Pierce Brosnan. That was the one that got me into
very underrated band is Timothy Dalton. I check that out sometime.
See, I'm good, but I want to watch. I want to start from the beginning. I want to watch all of them from start to finish.
The crazy thing about his,
I love Craig. I love Daniel Craig, but anyway,
Timothy Dalton was Daniel Craig before it was cool to be that Daniel Craig. Like he took the big step out, but this is obviously not a band podcast. But Pierce Brosnan was fantastic. I can't imagine a perfect, better casting for that. He's so fantastic. Me and Joe were talking before we even started recording here. I wanted to talk about the one scene where Black Adam and Hawkman are fighting in the apartment, and
man,
he's just sitting there with his helmet, teleporting to different spots, just not being part of this. And Joe, his power set was amazing. The way they showed his abilities. I'm a big fan of this character. It's hard for me to talk how much I love Dr. Fate. From the first appearance I saw him in Superman the Animated Series, that blew my mind to see him and that character in the whole. Oh my god, his powers! And just to get him in live action, I never thought we would, especially seeing him in stuff like Young Justice as well.
The interpretation of him in Young Justice was amazing.
Yes,
and then even in Justice League was really great too.
Yep.
And I've read comics with him over the years, not a ton. But Justice Society stuff is JSA stuff. Is stuff I've read a lot with him in it. But even that, it was just like he was off doing his own thing. He's part of the mystic side of stuff that doesn't get touched on enough. So to see him in this and to see him, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate was just, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was the best character in this film, in my opinion.
Plus, he was just so. Just wonderful as Kent Nelson.
Yes.
And
speaking in riddles and giving good advice, and then you turn into. And I was worried, especially we got some of the promos of him just carrying the helmet. I'm like, are we going to see? No, we got a lot of Dr. Fate. Spoiler, we got a lot of Dr. Fate.
So obviously, when they make trailers, they give them the scenes, and they'll cut up trailers for promotion. I am really happy that they did not overload us.
One scene is the only thing that I can remember from the trailers the most is him shooting down that one bit of magical powers that causes Black Adam to be stuck and in pain for a second. But Joe, when he throughout this, he can see the future. but or a potential future by touching his helmet.
He starts seeing like the future timeline. Yeah.
But he could see it before too. He talks about it at the end, like he for 100 years he's seen it's the future, and now nothing. When he does the ultimate, he's been seeing Hackman potentially die multiple times. I love how when he tells Hackman doesn't care. He's just full on going forward with it.
Which
but
is just kind of, well, I like that because it reiterated to me that this is Carter Hall that reincarnates constantly.
Yes, because he said that. That's the same thing I took from that as well, Joe. That he reincarnates. He's not afraid of death. I think that's just the quickest way to say that. If I get further down the line, which I really hope we get something with a Hackman, either at HBO Max thing or just or more appearances, or joining the JL, or joining the JL, or having a JSA film. I just enjoyed everything about Kent Nelson, like the way he would give advice to other people, the way he would talk. The voice as Dr. Fate was great too. I thought that was great when he's telling like Atom Smasher, Cyclone, you're up, and the way he spoke. And ultimately the sacrifice, I kind of got a little emotional, not gonna lie. Like just Pierce Brosnan was a good enough actor that he got that out of me in just the first time seeing him. And I'm like, honestly, part of it was, no, don't do this, Pierce. Like, come on. I know you don't want to be in multiple films in the franchise. You're definitely not up your cup of tea right now, but come on.
But
two or three more, please.
See, here's the thing, though.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
It makes the most sense.
Yes, it does.
Because while Hawkman could die and we can potentially get another Hawkman, we could get another Carter Hall, which would ultimately just be, what's his name? Aldous Hodge playing the role again. With Kent Nelson dying, with Dr. Fate dying, like, this is perfect because now the helmet can be passed to the next successor, which in the comics is Khalid Nassauer, which is Kent Nelson's grandnephew, allegedly. There's a relation there. So it's passed on to his family. And like, I'm all for that. Because now in the potential next movie, we could get another Dr. Fate. And I'm fine. Like, it's perfect. Because then that, like I said before, you've already got Atom Smasher and Cyclone. Cyclone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know why I questioned that real quick.
And Hawkman.
And Hawkman being the veteran, those two being the weathered heroes, you know, they can lead the team.
Also, Joe, who's to say there haven't been other members of the JSA in the past that we could bring back?
Correct.
That can be.
We could have a Green Lantern show up. We could have a Flash.
You just had one line of old friends, and you had a line of old friends, and like, it's been too long. And I felt just after that Hawkman and Dr. Fate got on several missions. I really enjoyed his powers when he had multiple duplicates of himself fighting. I thought that was great. Cool. While he was still speaking to Black Adam at the same time and helping him escape. It's just his plan, his even his death was epic. It was pretty cool. Like, he basically melted. And fantastic performance. I honestly thought someone else was going to wear the helmet. I'm so glad that didn't happen, because I thought it would have taken a little bit of the specialness.
I was right there with you when they're at the end, when Hawkman grabs it or was using it. I thought he was going to put it on, but no, he was holding it, and
he was tapping into it, essentially.
The helmet allowed him to use the power.
Yeah. And that was a great little touch. Just really enjoyable performance by Pierce Brosnan. And I never thought, Joe, that I would see Dr. Fate on the big screen. Like, that's something that I didn't ever think. That's not something that high on my priorities, especially with how much of a shambles crap show WB has been lately.
Speaking of, we got Derpy.
Yeah. Derpy Gaming says, I just wish Warner Brothers would have DC animators from 90s and 2000s creators work with directors to make storyboard or plan for a movie universe. But I guess that's just me, IDK, if you feel the same way. Sorry. Because Warner Brothers doesn't care that they never had a plan. They're just trying to make as much money on the characters as they can.
That was the old regime.
Yes, and it seems like the Rock has said that they have a plan. He's listening to the fans, and let's not pretend. I love Justice League Unlimited and Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series and Static Shock. and Data Project. Let's not say that there aren't some Batman and Nightwing and Harley Quinn films that some of these people have done as well. That let's not try and say that there's not missteps on that side of
Why you
things.
got to narrow it
Sometimes
down to just the one?
there's a few, but I'm just
No,
I'm
there are a
trying
few because, like,
to.
I mean, these are the same people that did The Killing Joke
Yep.
and threw in that 20 minutes of
Yeah.
things we didn't need to
Yeah.
have.
So that was a special point in
there's some-
time, Derpy Gaming, but there also was a plan. There were storyboards. There was a universe planned out for this. And after a couple movies, they kind of got a little
Kicked to the
cold feet
curb.
for a while.
Well,
So
I mean, again, they saw what the competition was doing, and it's like, why is that working or not? Nope, we got to start over. Like,
yeah,
although I'm pretty sure we're at the point now where there's no starting over.
no,
Yes,
well, there
Flash
could
is
be
potentially.
with a big event down the line, but I think for the time being, Joe, at the very least, they're going to try to do this to make it profitable because I don't want to avoid Clay. Clay was saying about the selling thing before, like last month, like Comcast.
Yeah, he's been saying that forever.
I know, but I don't think that having a cohesive universe, like extended universe, into your like film, like your DC, I think that would only boost the value. So you could
It would help it, yeah.
not restart it and just have like build off this to have a quick selling idea. But I'm one that I didn't want it to be reset. I'm not that kind of guy. I think some of this film kind of lines up with the greater DCEU.
It works out. Then they don't honestly. I think you don't need to reboot it.
No,
and like a full reboot anymore. Like
retool.
I think a retool, a soft reboot. Like you could easily, because they haven't introduced some of these characters. Like you essentially could have a Nightwing show up. You essentially to take over as Batman and move forward that way. You could have. Obviously, we'll get a new Dr. Fate eventually. We're probably gonna get a new Flash.
You can have
because of things going on. But
Ben Affleck's Batman just appear in like the team up films and keep the Batman separate, and you could have both of those going. That would be an ideal world, in my opinion.
There's so much you can do here that could still make it work.
Joe, I don't know if the general audience is going to get on board with the Nightwing idea, Nightwing transition to Batman.
Correct.
That's all. That's
I think especially since Zack Snyder said it was Dick that was killed.
Yeah, but that's not. We got the curl and the color. It's not too hard to retcon that and just say that was Jason, and then keep going on with the story. That's I for one didn't enjoy that.
It wasn't actually in the just because Zack Snyder said this is what it was doesn't mean that because it wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, you can change.
I'm sorry. I like Zack Snyder, but he's not a god to me. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, like the
crucify me all you want.
The Ben Affleck, Lois Lane didn't like that either potential. So, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this here. And like I said, Dr. Fate was the ultimate standout for me in this film.
Dr. Fate was amazing.
Love to get a past thing with him. Don't know if we will get that, but I would love to see how he got the helmet and all of that. It was like, oh my god, it was. I just love to see more. Honestly, I just love to see more.
I like that.
Yeah.
The only two characters that they should do for Man of Steel sequel is, if that's happening, is Brainiac or Bizarro.
I like both those choices.
I would love either one of those because little known fact, or actually big known fact, Brainiac was going to be the villain of the now defunct Nicolas Cage Superman film.
Yeah,
it was bad. I've seen the screenshots. I've seen the drawings, storyboards of that.
Well, Joe,
it was
that's essentially what Superman 3 went up against. Their version of that. So,
which they also had their version of Bizarro in Superman 3.
Yes,
which we'll get to.
So let's talk about the other DCU connection here with Amanda Waller and Harcourt. What do you think about? What do you think about those two being in here? I thought they served, like I said, great purpose of connecting this to a greater DCEU.
Yes. Well, and
Waller was
scene at the end,
menacing,
so we'll see
too,
that. Having them in this made sense. Harcourt in just the one scene, yeah, fine. I wasn't expect her to be in a ton. Like, yeah, that was one thing I definitely saw so much slow motion. That was just
in 2 hours. In 2 hours, but actually, it maybe runs second or third. Number one overall, obviously, is 300 in terms of slow mo shots per 60 minutes ratio. But
definitely a lot more in Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I felt this a few times. It was like you guys said, the needle drop. Someone in the chat said that too, and this slow mo stuff. Some of it was a little odd at times, but it, like I said, the action I thought was so good. There wasn't much in terms of CGI that I didn't enjoy. So, Joe, let's take our final ad break of the evening before we get into the last part of this review. Talking about the thing that we've been teasing
Well,
and holding out.
before we do that, before we go to the ad break, what do you think of the game? Because
Yeah, that's a
we didn't talk
good thing.
about Sabek,
Yeah,
Sabaki either. But like
yeah.
Inner Gang showing up,
Oh,
like
seems
I was like, oh, that's awesome. Because that is a connection to Superman.
yes, but I don't like how they were used in this film. I think that they were. I think that they were. We'll get into that in a second. Ali.
Okay, fine.
You got to pick the little tiny bits out of my little statement there that have to have me go back and amend it a little bit. But honestly, I didn't like how they were used in terms of I didn't know what their overall plan was. I knew what that guy's plan was, but they've been here for long enough now, and they've been mining Eternium. There was no mention of what they do with the Eternium. We saw a couple weapons of it. I don't understand anything to do with the bike, those bikes, how they super speed. I didn't.
They're using
I don't
Eternium.
know but I don't know the science of it. Are they disappearing and reappearing? Are they using magic? I want a little bit more explanation of the Eternium. There was no explanation of how the Eternium works.
Well, so I think that was speed. Like they're just speeding from point to point. It's because at the one scene when the one is just hitting that button, trying to go fast, and then Black Adam is speeding behind them, which I did not like that scene. Some of that CGI was bad, especially when they're elongating Black Adam. I'm like, that is terrible, but okay, whatever. Yeah, like, yes, we don't know what the actual properties of the Eternium is, but from my understanding, it's their power source, obviously. I also think they were searching really for the crown of Sabak, and so they knew it was made entirely out of Eternium. So they're mining Eternium, thinking like these large deposits of Eternium, thinking this is where the crown is. They're searching for the crown.
I could have just been shown one scene when you're showing their giant mining operation. Show me them building some weapons and just firing out a couple blasts.
Yes,
that's all. Okay. I because you did show the Rock getting hit with this bluish light, but you didn't spend enough time talking about it. You showed the guy like mining the slave at the start there of the film, but I mean, there was so much stuff going on. I wish there was a little bit of time, even when the character's saying, like, yeah, they mine Eternium to turn into weapons. That's not the original intent
saying
of that
and
mineral.
Showing are two different things. This is one they could have showed.
Yeah, even showed, like I said. Yeah. So that was a little frustrating, but I did enjoy the essentially, the Intergang was like their parademons. well, Black Adam's anyway. He just killed. I love seeing him. Like I said, when Dr. Fate calls him and says, "Bring one of them to me," I'll break his mind. And you see the guy falling in. He just he didn't make it. I thought that was funny. I really,
that was a great scene. I'll give you that one. Yeah. But then Sabak.
Yeah.
Ishmael. From the get-go, immediately you knew this guy was a bad guy.
Greasy, yeah.
Immediately. Oh yeah. So where's what's his name? Oh, he had to get some air. Really? Okay.
Yeah, fine. And when I say greasy, I mean like in con man type.
Sleazy.
Shifty. He was shifty. Yeah. And I didn't trust him for the most part. With him fiercely hyping up Black Adam, they're rushing to do they'd like to do it BVS with not enough good storytelling beforehand. The movie will be the third act of Man of Steel, but for most entire movie, the same as CD destruction. Because you're speaking to the wrong person here when you're talking about BVS and Man of Steel not being good. You're barking up the wrong audience there all the game, because Man of Steel shot in 2013 is as good as anything that's been to date, and the third act of the film is absolutely, I adore it. So you might be speaking to the wrong crew here, especially saying that BVS was rushed and not good storytelling.
Well,
It's
BVS was
you'll
good
see in a little
storytelling.
you'll see in a little bit here why I
Look,
disagree with that.
BVS was good storytelling. It was rushed because Warner Brothers was rushing
Yeah.
to make it happen.
So yeah,
but no, okay, so
Savak,
Ishmael.
yeah.
God damn it, all the game. But yeah, Ishmael was just sleazing the entire time. He was terrible. He was the bad guy, obviously. He was the leader of the gang. My only issue was he got crushed by those rocks, right?
Yeah. Well, it looked like it, but honestly, I thought that he could have fell back into the cave when
Okay. Because
when
to
I
me, it
when I
looked like
watched.
he got crushed, and then
Yeah.
he just walks out like it's no big deal. Like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, my dude's already got powers. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. I wish
then
they would have
obviously-
shown him fall back into something or something.
Okay.
Just instead of making it did make it seem like he was crushed. So
then obviously he gets the crown. He becomes Sabak once he
I do like that
goes to hell.
that the inscription was upside down, like the whole thing. I did like that. I actually did. So I thought that was okay.
That one bugged me a little bit.
I really because it kind of made the plan make sense of him having to be killed first to go to the afterlife and no one understanding that because Dr. Fate even says when they tell him what's inscribed, he's like, obviously, yeah, that's common sense. Like, which when you do the reverse of it, I did think that was kind of that worked for me, Joe.
Travis Snell was talking about this in Geekverse cast. So he and I have to agree with him on this one. The whole brilliant scientist who read the inscription, life was like life goes to death or whatever the inscription was. And then it's like, but he said it this way. If we turn it upside down and read this inscription this way and mirror it, it's like, what?
I wish I would have just it was a bit better of an explanation for why it happened.
There was an explanation.
I liked how they turned it around. They were misunderstanding the message of the crown, and he knew all along what he was going to do. That's the part I enjoyed.
Okay, that's fair.
How he got there, yeah. You could poke some holes in that. You could poke some holes in that there. But the fight
himself,
the fight,
I liked the character. Very CGI heavy on this one. That didn't take it out for me. I thought he looked fine. There was, I think, one moment where it was just like that looked a little clunky, but like the character himself looked great.
You know who he reminded me of? Remember Justice League Dark Apocalypse War?
Yeah.
You remember when Trigon takes over Superman?
Dude. No, I don't remember. Okay, yeah. Wow. Okay.
That's what he reminded me of when I saw him first thing, especially floating up with everything on his chest. I could not get that image out of my head for a little while.
Okay.
But he was generic. He didn't come into the film till very, very at the end. He wasn't like he's on a very lower tier. He's no Zod. Like you don't
Zod
know his motivations. Like Zod's motivations were built in from the day he was born. So I don't know. Very forgettable villain. I will say, second greatest or second most badass villain death in the DCU. Like the Rock literally rips him in half, and he like the lava comes out of him.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. I love that. I love how the JSA helped him out too to like get him in that position to Hawkman really to take him down. And then we get the whole transition of Hawkman and him. They have understanding after. That was great as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's take that final ad break now, Joe, and get into the little tiny bit we have left. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Joe. First on the game has a question here. I have a quick answer to. Who's the most generic villain in DCU so far? Has to be the villain from the Suicide Squad.
Enchantress.
I don't even know if I'm going to call it Enchantress or what they turn into. The kind of like the thing that comes after Thor in the first Thor film. The Destroyer.
It was her
Destroyer.
brother.
Yeah, but that's what they remind me of. Is very. I don't even really remember them. Like, it's
Yeah.
yeah, very forgettable in my opinion, and most generic. Whereas I like villains with like Zod that have like you don't think he's doing what he's doing right, but I like that he thinks he's doing it right, and you can understand his motivation. So Sabak
Correct.
was not Sabak. Like even Steppenwolf, he had the motivation of trying to please Darkseid. Like I don't have you don't have to be a
Well, yeah, but then
complex villain for me,
you got
but
Doomsday in BVS that
it's a mindless killing machine.
yeah, like
Yeah,
that's pretty generic. Like,
yeah,
oh, look,
super
there's
generic. That's a good
people
compliment.
trying to get me.
Yeah,
Okay,
but yeah,
see
that
what you did
was
there.
still. So Joe, we've got this. We've held it for as long as possible. We have to speak about the cameo now. What did you think,
Yes,
Joe?
I was one. It was great to see Darkseid show up and kick Black Adam's ass. No, God, it was wonderful. I love this scene. I know I didn't. Why is he wearing the Canadian flag?
Truth, justice, and the
It's
Canadian one.
also it's where it should be.
He's been on unemployment for 6 years here in Canada.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
like it. So I'm going to give myself 3/4 a point because this is exactly what I said would happen. Superman would show up and say, "Hey, you stay here, we'll stay over here, and no big deal." Now, it didn't work out that way. Superman did show up, but Amanda Waller was the one that said, "You stay there, and or otherwise whatever." So I'm giving myself 3/4 of a point because
I will give you a
right
full
there,
point for that, Joe, because all the things you said were said, and at the very end, they
but
ended
not
off
by
with
the
what.
right people. But no, like this, I loved it. Just seeing Henry Cavill on the big screen, something new he filmed in a new suit, like perfect.
I loved it. I loved that Henry Cavill was back. My theater popped like it was in game. I don't want to be this guy. I don't. I don't want to be
Ooh,
this
here we go.
guy.
What's it? What? Say it.
I absolutely couldn't stand the music. If I'm being honest with you, like I just it just didn't fit for me with that character. It just reminded me a little bit of Justice League in that sense of just I just don't know why you wouldn't use the probably the best theme I've ever heard, in my opinion, is what I love the most. It didn't affect how much I was smiling throughout the entire thing. It was just when I heard that little bit of the John Williams score, I just thought that's not needed. I didn't need that. That's what I thought. But I was still like smiling so much that Henry Cavill was back. I don't care about that. I'm not going to like I'm going to get on Twitter and complain. Oh, that music was stupid. I
Well,
don't care about that enough for that. I'm happier that Henry Cavill is back. I just
people
don't
are.
think that I don't
Well,
think it fits. So.
I'll say people are complaining about the music. People are
Yeah.
complaining about the suit, how he should be in the black suit.
Oh, don't care about
No,
that. Don't care about
no.
that.
Why
No.
should he be in the black? That black suit was
No.
just to
No,
make
that don't
him
make
get
any
his
sense. That
powers
don't
back.
make any sense. That don't make
Like,
any sense that he would be
he's
in the
not going
black
to stay
suit.
in the same suit.
No. No, he
After
would be
Justice League.
they literally showed the red and blue suit in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like
They,
any
but they,
comic
okay, but
fan would
look
any
at it this
comic
way,
fan would think he was just wearing that to soak in solar like
right?
that's that
But also look at it
don't
this way: Shazam takes place after Zack Snyder's Justice League
Yep.
officially. What suit was he wearing in Shazam? I mean, you
Yes.
don't see his head, but you see the red and blue. Like
Same thing as Peacemaker.
same thing as Peacemaker, although that was more
Yes.
silhouette, but still.
Yeah, but
But like
still.
it's one of those things. Yeah, he's not going to stay in the black suit. He has no
No.
reason to stay in the
No.
black suit.
He's fully healed, Joe. He's
Yeah,
fully back to
weird
Superman.
how
So
that
that
works.
and like I said, when he's walking in the movie that he gets the black suit, there's literally another red and blue suit that comes out, and you're like,
Weird, huh?
So
Just
I enjoyed seeing him. I like the curl. None of that stuff. Like I thought that was thumbs up. That's okay for nostalgia. I just thought
I'll be honest. I didn't see the curl.
I saw it. I saw
Yeah,
it.
no, I know it was there. People were talking about it. I didn't see it when I watched it. I'm just like, that's Henry Cavill. That's Superman. Like,
I was like this. I was
hell
like,
yeah.
yes. I just put my hands up, like super excited. There you go. The game said they're trying to move on from Snyder by using that theme while using the visual style throughout his movie. I just don't think you need to use. I really respect the WB when the last time when they made Man of Steel, they told him go make a new theme. if you recast to another Superman, I would like another theme. I don't need this theme to be the theme forever or anything.
Correct.
I just
I
think
mean,
for this
Ben
Superman,
Ben Affleck's theme is not the same as Michael Keaton's. It's
or
not the same as
Pattinson's, or
Patterson's.
yeah.
Like
That's
every
all. That's all. I just felt
yeah
like that was a cheap ploy to get nostalgia from people when that's not even the character. That's not even the actual portrayal that should give you nostalgia.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's Reeves. That's where that music for me anyway. But like I was just
But
smiling
it's
ear to
also
ear.
iconic. People know it. It's
Oh
not.
yeah,
I
it's for
mean,
your general audience people.
it's not the full. Well, here's the thing though. Like the whole Rock promoting left and right. Oh yeah, this is I'm the strongest superhero on this planet. Like
Wink, wink, wink,
that,
wink,
like
wink,
come
wink.
on, like dude, I wish you would have said that. I
Yeah,
wish, because now I know what to expect. I know what's going to happen. I already know what the mid credit scene is. This is what I was expecting to happen in the mid credit scene, because I didn't. It wasn't going to be the end of the movie.
yeah.
Like I get what he was trying to do. I get he was trying to get butts in seats, but no, because now you have a level of expectation throughout the whole film that Superman's going to be in the third act.
I'm going to push
No,
back a little bit in terms of you just like on the game.
yes
I
he
won't even
would.
say
Yes he would.
goose up. I'm just saying trying to get, because
We'll talk about
let's
that
be honest
in a bit.
here. He's doing a film for a studio that only had enough money to put out 2 films. I've
Yes,
seen
but that was
the
but
most
he was also
promotion
making
for
this
this.
before all that, before the
No, but
regime
yeah,
change,
but that goes
before
into
everything, when they
your
had the money.
but that goes into your marketing when you're here now, Joe.
It
All
does.
I've seen is him promoting this, him shouting to the rooftops. I haven't seen much like rented out YouTube stuff, uh, ads or anything like that. I've seen mostly The Rock, like The Rock promoting this using his full marketing machine. And I think at a certain point, maybe somebody in his team was like, "Yeah, The Rock, the opening numbers aren't that great. You're going to have to do something to boost this up a bit." And
We'll
we'll
we'll talk about that there on the game.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little tiny bit here on the game. We just got a little bit more to get through. Like we said, I love the cameo. I'm so happy that I hope he's back. There's a little bit of nonsense saying like he potentially might not be back now. It's just for one and
Then what's
done.
the point? If
I
you just come
don't
back, what's the point of putting him in?
I
In this
don't see
credit
that,
scene?
Joe, after
He's
holding him
back.
out for 2. He's back.
He is
Like,
back.
that's just
Let's-
somebody trying to get more traction, more clicks for the day. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So don't ever trust anything Grace says. That's my first and
Never
foremost.
do.
And I hate it so much when Zack Snyder went on there, just giving her a little bit more relevance. It just,
Well,
I hate her. She's as the Parks and Rec GIF. She's the worst. Every time I see anything, she blocked me when I called her a leech. I was like, "You're
weird
just
how
leech.
truth
Just
hurts.
throw 100 things on the wall. 3 things work out. You're like, I'm wicked. I have all these sources." Like, okay, it said 97 other things you've made up. So, Joe, we got to talk about our DCU rankings.
Alrighty.
Where does this fall for you? Do you have the whole list? Do you have it written out?
I've got it written down because I, for whatever reason, cannot navigate Letterbox because I don't know what's going on with that. So currently, this sits at number 8 for me out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13. But on there we were talking about. I've got the Justice League from that time.
Yeah,
but that's at the bottom. That's the very bottom. So yeah, it's number 8 for me. It's right behind Aquaman and just above Birds of Prey. And that actually was a tough one for me because Aquaman and Black Adam, I'm like, well, like which one? I knew it was gonna be above Birds of Prey, but I also knew it was gonna be below the Suicide Squad. And so I've got the Suicide Squad at number 4, and then it's like, all right, well, now I gotta figure out between Zack Snyder's Justice League and Wonder Woman and Aquaman where I'm gonna put it. So I liked those 3 more. Something about those 3 I like more, obviously, than this one. While this is still, it's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. It's not the best movie, but it's not a bad movie. Like I said, it's a good movie.
No. It's not a Venom 1 or 2.
It's not a Morbius.
Sorry.
Let's go
it's not a Venom 2.
It's
not a Venom 2 or a Morbius. It's more a Venom 1 than it is those other two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got it at number 8. What do you have it sitting at?
Well, I will share my list for the listeners, the live viewers in the YouTube. Coming in at the very bottom of my list is Wonder Woman 1984.
I know we're gonna do the whole thing. Jeez.
Yeah. Suicide Squad 2016 is number 10. Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey and Fantabulous Spaceship. When Harley Quinn, I can't believe I said that. Last time I ever say that is number 9
For
me.
now.
And I want to preface this: I enjoyed all 10 of these, and I enjoyed some of Wonder Woman 84, but you don't hear me speaking much about that because I don't really particularly enjoy a lot of that film. Number 8 is where Black Adam fell for me, Joe. It fell just behind Shazam and Aquaman, and the Suicide Squad was jumped up in my top 5, which has Wonder Woman as 4. And these 3, it's going to be tough. That's why I told you out of the game. You might have been barking up the wrong.
I mean, I also
here.
have BVS as number 1 and Man of Steel number 2. So
yeah, and Zack Snyder's Justice League is 2 for me, and Man of Steel is 3. BVS is my favorite comic book film ever. So yeah,
you also forgot to put Peacemaker in there, but that's because
Peacemaker will fall just before Shazam. I think Peacemaker came in just. I had the settings
push this to 9.
I have settings on the list as just films for DC, whereas Marvel I don't. I have for both. So
all game? What do you got? What do you have of that? If you're asking if we're both okay, what do you have of that?
I have it at 8, which is not too bad for 11.
Technically films. 9 because of
technically 9 if we're doing 12 projects with Peacemaker. So 9 out of 12. But I would recommend this for a cool little summer flick for somebody or action.
It's a fun popcorn film.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my! I should put you.
Yes, save Martha. Yes, all the game. Save her.
Okay, so we got a couple people talk about their thoughts on the film when I post it on Twitter. I'm going to read those out now. Mr. Macfisto had the same complaint I had. My only complaint is I'd like more Dr. Fate. I love Dr. Fate and every little bit of it. I 100% agree with you on that. And Charlie said, honestly, I had a lot more fun with this than I expected. I cringed at every single line The Rock made in the trailer, but I actually dug his dry humor most of the time. The fight scenes really felt top tier for the most part, in my opinion. Hodge might have been my favorite with fire emoji. You could tell they tried some DBZ-esque camera angles at times in the fights while flying. I honestly will say it was some of the closest to live-action Dragon Ball I've seen in my moment, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, they did a really great job with the action.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. That was one of the things that I thought was great with that was the action was pretty consistent throughout the whole thing, and The Rock's fighting, you just saw a lot of his superpowers with it, which is something I really enjoy every time they do something like that. And John Hazelton said, I had a blast with this film. It's a bit generic at times, and they could have cut down the MCU quips a little bit. The action was great, visually beautiful. Hawkman might be my favorite part, followed closely by Dr. Fate. I'd be interested to see the brutal scenes that were cut. And you know what? I can kind of see that the R that there was an R rating cut at one point of this. To be honest with you, Joe, with how he kills back and some of the deaths, just how.
I'm wondering if, because they cut out so much to make it PG-13, I wonder if he had went and gone and just decimated all of Intergang, because what we saw him, doing.
We love y'all in the game.
Oh yeah,
we love y'all in the game.
Because what we saw him destroy Intergang at the mountain, and then we saw him take out a bunch in the city. And then obviously when he was chasing down Ishmael to get Amon back, but Intergang is still around, right? Or did he actually, the scenes that were cut, go and just decimate Intergang altogether? And that was just scenes that were there, but obviously weren't needed.
I feel like we'll get that if there's a second Black Adam film too, of just showing the Black Adam driving the rest of them out of Kahndaq.
It's possible. Just very possible.
Having that is kind of a cool thing. I don't know, Joe. To be honest with you, we got to talk about this because
I guess this kind of leads into that. So go ahead.
Yeah, because we want to talk about where we're going to go with this going forward after this. we got to talk about the box office, and right now Thursday was 7.6 million pre-shows. Shazam had 5.9 million on its Thursday. Venom 1 and 2 were bigger at 10, 11.6 million.
Yeah.
They're projecting anywhere between 50 and 60. I've seen some 70 today as well, between 50 and 70.
It's going to depend on how well it does today and tomorrow.
Yes, and I really hope it at least gets over 60. I really hope it gets over 60. That's something I really enjoyed this film. I think that there like multiple viewings is definitely a possibility. And
how full was your theater?
Half full, which was surprising for this small island on a Friday at 1:00.
Okay.
I was shocked, to be honest with you, Joe. Like I expected 12 people when I went to watch. When I went to watch the Suicide Squad at the same time, there was 12 people.
Wow.
And this one had half the theater at 1:00. And listeners, we're an island. In my area, we only have one theater, but when we have one IMAX, it's tough. I was shocked at how many people there. It was but there was 2 or 3 people, Joe, wearing the Rock t-shirts, like the Rock wrestling shirts.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't think they were in here for the Black
They
Adam.
were there for the movie. Yeah, my theater, I was in a smaller theater. I think it held maybe 100 people. And I would guess it would maybe had 50. Like it maybe. It wasn't, it wasn't full, obviously, but like I know where I sat, there was a bunch of people in my row, a bunch of people in the row behind me, and a decent chunk in the third row behind me. And then there was like a handful in the few rows in front of me. So like it wasn't full, it wasn't packed, but it wasn't empty. So that's good. But I also went at 5 p.m. Eastern Thursday night.
Yeah. Which those are ones typically to get a lot of people compared to
sometimes
like 5 on a Friday or 5 next Monday.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, the 1:00, this is Friday, so there's only 2 other showings in IMAX that have been like since this come out. So Deadline has it making 25 today, which equates to 60 million. And on the game, I think that's essentially where he needs to be around. If you can get, let me see, between 400 and 500 million by the end of the life of this, you'll get another film out of this. I think, just because of where it positions it. I don't know if it's going to get that, especially with Black Panther coming in. I think something
that's the big. We are 3 weeks away from Black Panther.
Away.
This needs to do good. It cannot have a big drop next week, but it will. That's the problem. It will have a big drop.
Although I wonder if the audience, the word of mouth with the audience, because
that might help.
They're completely divisive compared to the critics on this. They could not be further apart. So I don't know, Joe. I want to see more.
Again, critics went in there thinking, like, viewing this, again, every single one that I saw, all the reviews I saw, they're comparing it to Marvel. It's not a Marvel movie.
No.
I mean, it is, but it's not.
You're establishing 5 characters in DCEU, in my opinion, and I think it's a great. I think it does have a China release. I'm not sure when. I think I saw. I think we talked about it. I'd have to go through the show notes on the game. I'm pretty sure it's in one of the show notes that I did. I think it did get a Chinese like a China release. So
I'm looking that up right now.
We'll see about that. I like I said, I think this opens it up for more JSA down the line. Give me a Hawkman, Hawkgirl movie, or have her joining the JSA in another appearance. You could have the JSA show up in a variety of different things going forward as well. I don't know if you had a world-ending event and you could have them show up to give assistance there. You could have them working with the Justice League, and I just think the possibilities are endless for that. And obviously, our boy at the end, there's Superman. I really hope we get another film with him before we get a showdown with Black Adam. Like, I don't need that film right away. Let Shazam. I really hope, Joe, at the end of Shazam 2, the Wizard tells Shazam about Black Adam.
Because you guarantee that he can feel him there.
And that's what I want.
Especially since Shazam was supposed to come out before Black Adam, right?
Yeah. So that's that's kind of what I want here. I really hope that we see.
And on the
Just
game, I couldn't find if it has a Chinese release, so I'm hoping it does, but I don't know. It's had like a Taiwan and a Japan release.
they also love The Rock, so
Exactly. So that's why
yeah,
I think they should definitely it should happen.
yeah.
But
Fingers crossed on that. And like I said, I really hope that we get stuck with Superman. I hope this is just a one and done. That would be terrible.
I don't
Check
think it
out
will.
in another 10 days. I think 27th. Henry Cavill's going on Josh Horowitz podcast live. That
Ooh,
I think it might be live online. I think
okay.
potentially that was the tickets. I'm not sure. So we'll definitely get some info about that and his Superman after that podcast. So you turn to DCA for that, and we'll be talking about the box office after the weekend on Monday as well as, and probably more about the fallout on the game of where they're going to go from here. You'll hear The Rock talk about more JSA. And I don't think myself or Joe would argue against that.
I would love to see it happen.
Joe, any final thoughts before we close this one out?
Um,
Recommendations?
like I said earlier, I recommend seeing it. If you don't have a chance to see it in theaters, which completely understandable. I mean, I would say go see it in theaters because seeing it on the big screen always a pleasure. But definitely recommend seeing it. Well, here's the thing about that: if you don't get the bucket within the first 24 hours, it's usually gone by Saturday.
Yeah, I
Almost
still got
always.
popcorn in my bucket. I'm gonna have to clean this out before I put it away with the Wonder Woman bucket. Ironically, I had the Wonder
Here's
Woman
a
84 bucket.
Well, I got one of those too.
Is
Here's
that
a
my
question:
bad?
does the Cineplex? Can you take the bucket back and get a refill?
I didn't try it. They didn't say that we could.
Because I
You could have bought the bucket for $8 alone, or bought it with popcorn in it for 14. And I think they're getting me because I don't even think there's a regular bag of popcorn in this
no. So that's
tub.
more of a small. That's definitely smaller
Yeah, I
thing.
think they were
That's fine.
getting me because you can buy
Um,
just a large bag for $9.99. I think they saw me coming. I was like, dang it. Should have just bought the
because
large bag and then just poured them in.
I know the Regal, which I go to. I can take the bucket and the cup back, and I'll get free refills on that for as long as that movie's in theaters.
Okay. That's not I
So,
don't think
so
that's the
for the
case here. I
next,
do not think that's the case.
so for the next 3 weeks, I can go take that bucket and popcorn, or bucket and pop. Go get free popcorn and pop until Black Panther. Get that bucket, and then there's going to be like at least 2 weeks where I can have both at the same time, and I'll get like a shit ton of popcorn and pop.
Joe, Joe, the
Just saying.
popcorn. And on the games, there's a huge upcoming football soccer World Cup will also have effect on the box office.
True.
Yep. I don't think it's going to do anything with Black Panther, but it could potentially have some problems here. Yeah,
No,
I
closing
recommend
thoughts.
this
Great
film.
movie. Recommend it.
I'm with Joe on this. I recommend this film. I'm happy we had a DCU film.
Good
It's
movie.
been a
Recommend it.
while. The Rock has been rock bottoming executives that don't think Superman should be in films, which
Man,
blows my mind.
the fact that he went around Hamada to be like, no, I'm getting Henry Cavill in this movie. Like, one way or the
And the
other,
fact that
he's gonna
everyone
be in
else
this movie.
besides Walter Hamada at DC wants Henry Cavill, it
Right?
seems like. It's
Like,
like
no,
Andy
like,
and
dude,
DeLuca, like, yeah, and Zaslav apparently likes the character as well. So
just like look at read the writing on the wall, my dude. Like,
it got the biggest
you're
pop in
out.
the film. It got the biggest
Done.
pop. It got the biggest pop in the film. How do you not put that in there? How do you not think about actually, Joe,
Because
that's the same
they
regime
have
that
another thing for him. It's fine. He's gonna be coming down the line. It's been 6 years. Shut up.
yes,
Get out
I
of
was just
office. You're done.
we were so happy, and we may even speculate possible Man of Steel 2 things going down the line here. I'm so excited. I hope
That'll
Christopher
be a
McQuarrie
Mondays
gets
thing.
on this. And yeah, this was fun. I'd recommend this. Just go have a blast. There's a lot of action. If you're not a comic book fan, you'll still enjoy this film. I think if you're an action fan, you'll enjoy the film. Is like I said, it's not the greatest. We've talked about some problems it's had too, but overall, I think it's a fun experience, and that's all. That's the main thing I want from a movie. At the very least, is have fun when I leave it,
Yep.
and that's how I felt here. And Doctor Fate, Doctor Fate, Doctor Fate. I'll say that till the end of time. It was amazing. Joe, I'll see you on Monday for
Yes, sir.
the post Black Adam fallout. We'll say.
For the Fallout. Wow.
And listeners, thank you for joining us. We'll be
Yep.
back on Monday with another episode.
Yep. See you guys.
See you, everyone. Tell them